Zara's phone buzzed for the 4th time in the last hour. She didn't need to look to know who it was. Ji-hun. His name on the screen made her stomach twist, and yet she couldn't ignore it. Not anymore. Not when she had already been pulled into his world with no way out. Taking a deep breath, she pressed the green button and held the phone to her ear, trying to calm the racing in her chest. Yes? I see you're awake? Ji-hun's voice came through, smooth and as controlled as ever. We have business to discuss. Zara wanted to tell him to go to hell. She wanted to slam the phone down and walk away from everything. Her uncle's health, the debts, the threats. But she knew that wasn't an option. She had made a deal, and now she was stuck in it. I'm listening, Zara replied, her voice steady, though her nerves were anything but. Ji-hun chuckled softly, that same cold amusement in his tone. You're stronger than I thought. I'll give you that. There was a brief pause, and then his voice shifted, darker this time. Meet me at the club in 1 hour. I need to discuss something important with you. Zara's mind raced. Why the club? The last time she had been there, their atmosphere had suffocated her. But there was no arguing. She had no choice. Fine, she said, barely able to keep the annoyance from creeping into her voice. Good girl, Ji-hun said, as though he were speaking to a child. I'll be waiting. Don't be late. The line went dead, leaving Zara holding her faux stee, a mixture of frustration and dread swirling inside her. She had been trying to find a way out of this, trying to gather enough courage to fight back, but with every move she made, Ji-hun was always one step ahead. It felt like she was in a game, but the rules were rigged. She couldn't go to the club. Not again. But what choice did she have? If she didn't show up, who knew what he would do next? What would he do to her uncle? As the minutes ticked by, Zara struggled with the decision. Part of her wanted to run, to leave it all behind, but that wasn't an option. She had promised her uncle she would help him, and now it felt like she was slipping further away from everything she had once known. She couldn't afford to lose him, not when he was the only family she had left. Zara grabbed her jacket from the chair and quickly slipped it on. She needed to go. She needed to be there, to understand what Ji-hun wanted, and maybe, just maybe, she could figure out a way to turn things around. What do you think Zara should do now? Will she continue to obey Ji-hun, or will she find a way to break free? Let us know where you're watching from in the comments, and don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to stay updated on what happens next. The club felt different tonight. It wasn't the same bustling energy that Zara had grown used to. This time, it was more subdued. The lights were dim, the music softer, like a predator waiting for its prey. Zara walked through the entrance, her heart in her throat, knowing exactly where she was headed. Ji-hun's office was upstairs, hidden from the crowds that danced and drank below. As she climbed the stairs, the weight of her decision pressed on her shoulders, every step feeling like it took her deeper into a world she couldn't escape from. She knocked twice before entering, a habit she had developed over the past few days. Ji-hun was standing by the large windows, looking down at the city below, his silhouette framed by the city lights. He didn't turn around when she entered, his back still to her. You came, he said simply, his voice carrying that unsettling calmness. I knew you would. Zara crossed the room slowly, her eyes scanning the space. There was something about the way he moved, the way he controlled every situation, that made her feel small in comparison. She hated the way he made her feel, but she couldn't deny the power he wielded over her. What do you want? She asked, trying to sound more confident than she felt. Ji-hun finally turned to face her, a knowing smile playing at the corners of his lips. I want you to understand something, Zara. This isn't just about you and your uncle anymore. This is bigger. This is about control. Zara felt her pulse quicken. Control? She repeated, her voice barely above a whisper. What do you mean? Ji-hun stepped closer, the space between them shrinking. His eyes locked onto hers, his gaze intense and unwavering. You're more important than you think. You have something I need, something no one else has. He paused for a moment, letting his words sink in. But you still don't understand the full picture. Not yet. Zara's chest tightened, the unease in her stomach growing. She had known, deep down, that Ji-hun was playing a game, one she didn't fully understand. But the way he was looking at her now, the way he spoke to her, made her realize that she was just a piece in a much larger puzzle. She didn't know where she fit or what he wanted from her, but she knew it couldn't end well. I'm not a part of this, she said, her voice faltering despite her best efforts. I don't want to be a part of your world. Ji-hun's lips curled into a smile that didn't reach his eyes. You're already here, Zara. You've already crossed the line. There's no going back now. The finality in his words hit her like a wave, drowning her in the cold realization that she was trapped. She had tried to keep her distance, tried to protect herself, but she had already made the mistake of walking into the wrong bathroom. She had already stepped into his world, and now there was no turning back. Ji-hun's presence was overwhelming, suffocating her with the weight of his control. He had already made it clear that there was no escape, that she was bound to him by a series of invisible chains that tightened with every passing second. But Zara wasn't ready to give in, not yet. What do you want from me? She demanded, her voice rising with frustration. Why am I so important to you? Ji-hun took another step toward her, his eyes never leaving hers. Because you have what it takes, Zara, he said, his voice soft but powerful. You have the ability to make people believe. You can build something that no one else can. And I need you by my side to make that happen. Zara's mind raced. I don't want any part of your empire, she said, her voice shaking with a mixture of fear and defiance. Ji-hun reached out, his fingers brushing her cheek in a motion that was almost gentle, but Zara flinched, stepping back. He didn't react, didn't seem to care that she was rejecting him. You already are part of it, he replied calmly, his smile never faltering. Whether you like it or not. Zara felt the walls closing in around her, the suffocating sense of inevitability hanging in the air. She had tried to fight, tried to keep her independence, but Ji-hun was right. She had already been pulled into his web, and now there was no escaping. Zara's battle for control is far from over. What will she do next? Can she break free, or is she too far gone? Let us know what you think in the comments. Zara's heart raced as Ji-hun took another step closer to her, his cold gaze never leaving hers. The tension in the room was palpable, thick with the weight of his words and the unsettling pull of his presence. Every fibre of her being screamed to run, to escape this nightmare, but her body refused to move. She was trapped. She had told herself she would resist, that she would find a way to keep her dignity intact, but every moment she spent in Ji-hun's world chipped away at that resolve. She had walked into the wrong bathroom, but now she realized that wasn't the only mistake she'd made. Ji-hun reached out, his hand hovering near her face, his fingers almost grazing her cheek. The touch was light, but it was enough to send a jolt of electricity through her. She flinched instinctively, but he wasn't fazed. Instead, he smiled. Predatory. Calculated. Don't be afraid, Zara, he said, his voice smooth, almost soothing. I won't bite, not unless you ask me to. Zara swallowed hard, pushing back the wave of disgust and fear that threatened to overwhelm her. She clenched her fists at her sides, her knuckles white from the pressure. She couldn't let him see her break. Not now, not in front of him. I didn't come here for this, she said, her voice trembling but firm. I came here for my uncle, and I'm not going to let you use him to control me. Ji-hun raised an eyebrow, clearly amused by her defiance. You think you still have control, Zara? He took another step toward her, closing the distance between them. Let me make one thing clear. You're already a part of this. You're already mine, whether you want to be or not. The words stung more than she cared to admit. She had known deep down that Ji-hun had power over her, but hearing him say it out loud so casually made her feel smaller than ever. No, she whispered, shaking her head. I'm not yours. I won't be. Ji-hun's smile faded, and for the first time she saw something darker in his eyes, something colder. He stepped back slightly as if considering her words. Then, with deliberate slowness, he began to speak again, his voice low, but filled with menace. You think you have a choice, don't you? You think you can refuse me, refuse this world I'm offering you, but you don't get to decide that, not anymore. Zara's chest tightened as she backed away, every instinct telling her to flee, to run as far as she could. But she didn't have that luxury anymore. The reality of her situation hit her hard. She wasn't some innocent bystander. She wasn't just a victim of circumstances. She was caught in a game with no rules, and the more she fought back, the more she realized that it only made her a target. You don't know what you're asking for, Zara said, trying to steady her voice. I'm not going to be part of your empire. Ji-hun tilted his head slightly, studying her like a scientist observing an experiment. You're already part of it, Zara, whether you like it or not. His voice softened, almost conspiratorial. And you'll come to see that this world, as dark and dangerous as it is the only one that matters. Once you understand that, you'll embrace it. Zara shook her head, the words stinging like poison. I won't let you break me. Ji-hun stepped closer again, so close that Zara could feel his presence suffocating her. His breath was warm against her skin as he spoke, his voice low and persuasive. You don't have to be broken, Zara. You just have to be mine. His words sent a chill down her spine. She could see it now. The power he held over her wasn't just physical, it was psychological. He was playing a game, and Zara was his piece on the board. But she wouldn't let him win. She couldn't. I won't be a pawn in your game, she said, her voice stronger now, though her heart was pounding. Ji-hun's smile returned, this time softer, almost amused. You're already more than a pawn, Zara. You're a queen in this game. The question is, will you embrace it, or will you fight it until it destroys you? Zara felt a surge of anger. I won't play by your rules. You can't make me. Ji-hun took one final step forward, bringing them face to face. For a moment, there was only silence between them, the tension so thick it was suffocating. His gaze never left hers, and Zara felt as if he were reading her every thought, every fear. You're already playing, Zara, he said, his voice a whisper, whether you realize it or not. The room felt colder now, the weight of Ji-hun's words lingering in the air like a toxic cloud. Zara's mind raced as she tried to make sense of everything. She had been so focused on her uncle, so determined to get him the medical help he needed, that she hadn't fully realized what she had walked into. Ji-hun's world wasn't just criminal, it was a world built on control, on power, and on manipulation. And now, Zara was a part of it, whether she wanted to be or not. She couldn't let him win. She couldn't give in to him. But how could she fight back when she had already been caught in his web? Ji-hun's smile never wavered as he stepped back, his eyes still locked on hers. You've made your choice, Zara. The question is, are you going to accept it? Zara took a deep breath, steadying herself. She wasn't going to let him break her, not without a fight. But she couldn't ignore the reality of her situation either. The Kangs were everywhere. Their influence stretched across the city, across the very fabric of her life. And Ji-hun, he was the puppet master, pulling all the strings. I'm not afraid of you, Zara said, her voice strong despite the fear that still churned in her gut. Ji-hun's expression softened slightly, but there was no warmth in it. "You should be," he replied quietly. "You should be very afraid, Zara." He turned away from her then, as if dismissing her, and walked toward the door. "We'll talk more soon," he said over his shoulder, his voice casual, almost as though they had just had a regular conversation. Zara didn't move. She stood in the same spot, her heart pounding in her chest as the door clicked shut behind him. She was alone again, but the fear, the doubt, still clung to her like a shadow. Jihyun had made it clear she was already part of his world, and there was no escaping it. But as she stood there, the weight of her decision settling in, a spark of defiance flickered within her. She wasn't going to give up. She wasn't going to let him win, no matter how hard he tried to break her. Jihyun's warning still echoed in Zara's mind. "You're already playing, Zara." His words haunted her, reminding her that she had already crossed a line she couldn't uncross. She had made a deal with the devil, and now there was no way out. But Zara wasn't ready to give up. Not yet. She had fought too hard for too long. The fight was far from over. Zara stood alone in the silence of the office, the heavy weight of Jihyun's words still pressing down on her. "You're already mine." The thought circled in her mind, gnawing at her sanity. Every part of her wanted to run, to flee from this world that had become a nightmare. But she knew it was impossible. The Kangs had woven themselves into every corner of her life, and now she was part of their game. Her fingers curled into fists at her sides. She wanted to scream, to rage against the unfairness of it all. She had never asked for any of this. She had come to Seoul to help her uncle, to give him a better life. And now here she was, caught in the web of the most dangerous crime family in the city. Zara looked around the office, feeling the oppressive weight of Jihyun's presence, even though he was no longer there. The room felt cold, detached, as though the walls themselves were closing in on her. She couldn't stay here. She couldn't let herself be swallowed by this world, even if it seemed like her only option. But what else could she do? Running wasn't an option, not when her uncle's life was at stake. She had already seen how far Jihyun was willing to go to maintain control over her. And now there was no turning back. The sound of her phone vibrating on the desk broke her thoughts. She reached for it, her heart sinking when she saw the name on the screen. Lily. She hesitated for a moment before answering, her voice tight with the weight of everything she had just heard. "Lily?" "Zara." Lily's voice came through the phone, filled with urgency. "Where are you? What happened? Are you okay?" Zara ran a hand through her hair, trying to keep herself composed. "I'm fine," she lied, though it tasted bitter in her mouth. I need some time to think." Lily didn't buy it. "Zara, listen to me. I know things have been hard, but you can't stay in that world. You can't let him control you." Zara's breath caught in her throat. "It's too late for that, Lily. I'm already in too deep. Jihyun, he's already made it clear I'm not leaving, not unless I want to lose everything." "Zara, you're not thinking clearly," Lily said, her voice rising with concern. "Jihyun isn't just dangerous. He'll destroy you piece by piece. You can't let him win." Zara closed her eyes, her heart aching. She wanted to believe Lily, wanted to hold on to the hope that there was a way out, but it felt like that hope was slipping through her fingers. "I don't know what to do, Lily. I don't know how to get out of this." Lily's voice softened, and for the first time, Zara heard the vulnerability in her tone. "I know it feels impossible, but you can't let him have that much power over you. You're stronger than this, Zara. You have to fight back." Zara's fingers tightened around the phone as she leaned against the wall, her mind a swirl of conflicting emotions. "I don't have the strength, Lily. I can't do this alone." "You're not alone, Zara," Lily said, a note of finality in her voice. "I'm here for you. We'll figure this out together." Zara didn't know if she could trust Lily. In a world full of lies, she wasn't sure who had her back. But for the first time in days, she felt a spark of hope. Maybe, just maybe, she could find a way out. "I'll be careful," Zara said, her voice small but determined. "I'll try to figure something out." "I believe in you," Lily said softly before the line went dead. Zara sat down at the desk, running her hands over her face in frustration. The conversation with Lily had left her feeling both lighter and more burdened at the same time. She wanted to believe that there was a way out of this, that she could escape Jihyun's grip, but every moment she spent in this world made it feel like the walls were closing in tighter. Her phone buzzed again, and this time she didn't need to check the screen to know who it was. Ji-hoon. The weight of his name made her stomach twist in dread. She knew what he wanted. He had already made it clear. But this time, it was different. This time, she wasn't going to let him control her. Zara took a deep breath, trying to steady herself. She had to do something. She couldn't keep living in fear of him, not when her uncle's life was at stake. What do you think Zara should do now? Should she continue to obey Jihyun, or is it time to fight back? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. And don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to stay updated with the next chapter of Zara's journey. Zara stood by the window, looking out over the city that had once felt so full of promise. Now, it felt like a prison. The bright lights of Seoul, once a symbol of opportunity, now only served as a reminder of the world she was trapped in. Her phone buzzed again, and this time she didn't hesitate to answer. "Jihyun," she said, her voice firm, though every part of her wanted to tremble. "You're late," Jihyun's voice came through, smooth and commanding. "I told you I'd be waiting. You should learn to follow through, Zara." "I'm here," Zara said, her voice steady. "What do you want from me?" Jihyun's laughter echoed through the phone. "You're still resisting, aren't you? You think you have a choice in all of this. You don't." Zara clenched her jaw, the anger inside her flaring up. "I'm not your puppet, Jihyun. I won't do what you say just because you ask me to." "Oh, but you already are," he replied, his tone dripping with satisfaction. "You think you're still in control?" "I've already got you, Zara. You just don't realize it yet." The realization hit her like a cold wave. He was right. She had walked into his world, and now she was stuck. There was no escaping it. She couldn't fight him head on. Not yet, but there had to be another way. Jihyun's voice brought her back to the present. "I have plans for you, Zara. You'll do well if you stop resisting. It'll be easier for you." "I'm not doing anything for you," Zara said through clenched teeth, trying to keep her composure. "You can't make me." Jihyun's laugh returned, but it was cold, cruel. "You already agreed, Zara. Don't you get it? You're in this now and there's no turning back." Zara's mind raced. She was trapped, and Jihyun knew it. The weight of his words was unbearable, but something inside her snapped. She couldn't let him win. She wouldn't let him break her. "I'll be there," she said finally, her voice tight with determination. "But don't think for a second that I'll just do whatever you say." Jihyun didn't respond immediately, and for a moment Zara wondered if she had finally caught him off guard. But then his voice came through, slow and deliberate. "Good girl," he said. "I'll be waiting." The line went dead, and Zara stood there, her heart pounding. What had she just agreed to? But there was no turning back now. Jihyun had made it clear that she was part of his world. The only thing left to do was figure out how to survive in it. Zara hung up the phone, her hand trembling. Jihyun's words hung in the air like a suffocating cloud. "You're in this now, and there's no turning back." The finality of it felt like a heavy weight on her chest, but she refused to let it crush her. She couldn't afford to break, not now. Not when everything, her uncle's life, her own sense of identity, was hanging in the balance. Her thoughts raced, a mix of fear and anger spiraling inside her. She had agreed to meet him, but that didn't mean she had to give in. She wasn't going to become one of his puppets, no matter how hard he tried to manipulate her. Taking a deep breath, she grabbed her coat from the chair and slipped it on, the cool fabric brushing against her skin. She moved toward the door, her legs heavy with the weight of what was about to unfold. Jihyun had promised her a life in his world, a life she wanted nothing to do with. And yet, here she was, walking into his hands once more. As she stepped outside, the crisp air of Seoul hit her face, sending a chill down her spine. The city was bustling, people moving in every direction. But for Zara, it felt like everything was moving in slow motion. Each step felt like a mile, each breath harder to take. Her phone buzzed again, and her stomach twisted at the sight of Jihyun's name on the screen. She didn't want to answer. She didn't want to engage with him anymore. But she had no choice. Taking another deep breath, she answered the call, trying to keep the tremor from her voice. "I'm on my way," she said, not bothering to waste time with pleasantries. "Good girl," Jihyun's voice came through, smooth and patronizing. "I'll be waiting. You know where." Zara wanted to hang up, to ignore him completely, but the weight of his power made that impossible. "I'm coming," she repeated, her voice cold. The call ended, and Zara slipped the phone back into her bag. She couldn't let herself be intimidated anymore. She had made it this far by surviving, by finding ways to push back, to resist. And now, she needed to dig even deeper. If she wanted to save her uncle, if she wanted to reclaim even a sliver of control, she had to play this game on her own terms. She arrived at the club, the same place where everything had started. The air was thick with the scent of alcohol, perfume, and something darker, something that made her stomach churn. The music pulsed through the walls, too loud, too alive, as though the place was mocking her. It felt like a prison, and Jihyun was its warden. As she entered, the usual buzz of the club was replaced with an eerie calm. The staff seemed more tense than usual, moving with a precision that sent a shiver through Zara. She made her way through the crowd, her eyes scanning for Jihyun's office. The door to the VIP section was slightly ajar, and she could see the silhouette of Jihyun standing inside, waiting. When she reached the door, she hesitated. 1,000 thoughts raced through her mind, but she pushed them aside. She couldn't let fear stop her now. She had to go in. With a deep breath, she pushed the door open and stepped inside. Jihyun was standing by the window again, looking out over the city. He didn't turn when she entered. His back still to her, but Zara could feel the shift in the air. He knew she was there. "Zara," he said, his voice as smooth as ever. "I've been waiting." She didn't speak at first, her gaze flickering around the room. The walls were lined with expensive art, the furniture luxurious, but none of it mattered. Not anymore. "I came like you asked," she finally said, her voice steady, though her insides felt like they were in turmoil. "What do you want from me?" Jihyun turned to face her then, a smile tugging at the corner of his lips. "What I want is simple, Zara," he said, his voice calm and measured. "I want you to understand your place in this world. You think you still have control, but you don't. I'm offering you something. Power, wealth, influence, and all I'm asking for in return is your loyalty." Zara's fist clenched at her sides. "I don't need anything from you," she said, her voice barely more than a whisper. "I didn't ask for this life." Jihyun's smile widened, but his eyes darkened. "That's where you're wrong, Zara," he said, his voice colder now. "You've already asked for it. You just didn't know it yet." Zara felt a chill run through her, but she stood her ground. I won't be a part of your empire. I won't let you control me. Jihyun walked toward her, his steps slow and deliberate. You don't get to decide that anymore. You're already in this, and you'll soon see that there's no way out. The air between them grew thick, charged with an intensity that Zara could feel in her bones. But she refused to back down. She couldn't let him break her. Maybe you don't realize it, Jihyun, Zara said, her voice more forceful now. But I still have power. I still have control over something. I'm not yours to command. Jihyun stopped just a few feet away from her, his gaze intense. You think you have control? He asked, his voice low and almost teasing. You think you can defy me? You're already mine, Zara. You just don't know it yet. Zara felt the walls closing in again. His words rang in her ears, and for a moment she thought she might break. But she couldn't. She couldn't let him see how much he affected her. Maybe, she said, her voice steady, but not yet. Jihyun's smile faltered for a moment, but then it returned, colder than ever. You'll learn, Zara. In time, you'll learn that resistance is futile. I'm offering you a place by my side, but you keep fighting it, and that will only make things harder for you. Zara didn't know how much longer she could keep up the act. The weight of Jihyun's control was suffocating, and every moment in his presence felt like she was slipping further away from herself. But she refused to give in. Not yet. Not while there was still hope. I won't be your puppet, she said, more to herself than to him. But Jihyun heard. Then prepare yourself, he said, his voice dark. You're about to find out what it really means to belong to me. The tension between them was thick, and Zara could feel it in every muscle of her body. Jihyun wasn't going to let her go, not without breaking her. But she wasn't going to make it easy for him. She had to keep fighting. For her uncle, for herself. Jihyun's gaze softened slightly, but it didn't reach his eyes. His smile, though charming, was nothing more than a mask. Don't forget, Zara, he said, his voice almost tender. I own you. You can fight me all you want, but the reality is, you'll never escape. Zara didn't respond. She didn't need to. She didn't want to give him the satisfaction of knowing that his words affected her. She was still standing, still breathing, and that was all that mattered. But as she turned and walked toward the door, she knew that the battle was far from over. Jihyun would keep coming, pushing her, testing her, and the next time, he might not be so subtle. Zara walked out of Jihyun's office, her mind a storm of confusion and rage. Her heart pounded, each beat a reminder of how deeply she had been pulled into his world. Jihyun had made it clear that there was no escaping this life, no running from the forces that now controlled her every move. But as she made her way down the narrow hallway, her feet dragging with the weight of the situation, one thought stood out above the rest. She couldn't give up. No matter how suffocating it felt, no matter how much Jihyun wanted her to believe that she was his, she wasn't going to let him break her. She couldn't. The door to the club's main area opened in front of her, and the noise hit her like a wave. Music blasted from the speakers. People laughed and shouted, and the clinking of glasses filled the air. It all felt so out of place. She was walking through a world that was nothing like the one she had imagined for herself. It was a place full of danger, manipulation, and power. And now, she was part of it. She didn't even know where she was going. Her feet seemed to move of their own accord, guiding her through the crowd. But the truth was, she didn't want to be here. Not in this world, not under Jihyun's control. Her phone buzzed again, pulling her from her thoughts. She hesitated before looking down. It was a message from Lily. You're still with him, aren't you? Zara, you can't keep doing this. He'll break you. You have to leave, before it's too late. Zara read the message twice, the urgency in Lily's words sinking in. She couldn't ignore it. Lily was right. Jihyun wasn't just playing a game. He was building a life for her, one she couldn't escape from. But the moment she thought about walking away, her mind went straight back to her uncle. He was the reason she had come to Seoul in the first place. The reason she had agreed to everything Jihyun was offering. She couldn't let him go without help. She had to find a way to survive in this world. She had to find a way to make it out, even if it meant doing things she never thought she would. She slipped her phone into her pocket, her thoughts racing. Jihyun's grip on her was tightening, but that didn't mean she had to surrender completely. She was smart. She was capable. There had to be a way to fight back, to regain control. But right now, she had to play the game. She had to keep up the facade until she could figure out her next move. As Zara reached the exit of the club, the cool night air hit her like a slap and she felt herself exhale in relief. The streets were quieter now, the lights of the city casting long shadows across the pavement. She looked up at the towering buildings, the city that had promised so much to her when she first arrived. Now, it felt like a cage, its bars invisible but stronger than steel. She walked down the street, lost in her thoughts, trying to map out a plan, when her phone buzzed again. She didn't even need to look at the screen. She knew who it was. Jihyun. Her heart sank, but she answered anyway, her grip tightening on the phone. "What do you want?" she asked, her voice sharp. "You didn't think you could just leave, did you, Zara?" Jihyun's voice came through, smooth and almost lazy, as though he were speaking to someone he had already won. "You're part of my world now. There's no running away." "I'm not your property," Zara snapped, her voice rising despite her best efforts to remain calm. "I'm not your slave." Jihyun's laugh was low and mocking. "You don't have to be a slave, Zara. You just have to accept your place. You think I don't see the way you fight me? It makes things more interesting. But trust me when I say it won't change a thing." Zara could feel the anger building inside her, but she forced herself to stay composed. "I'm not playing your game. Not anymore." "Of course you are," Jihyun replied smoothly. "You're already knee-deep in it. Whether you realize it or not, Zara, you're mine, and I'm going to make sure you learn that." She was done talking. She slammed the phone down, shaking with anger and frustration. Jihyun's words echoed in her mind, and she hated how true they felt. He had already taken so much from her, but she wasn't going to let him take everything. Not without a fight. Zara walked faster now, her thoughts a blur as she tried to make sense of her options. She had to be smarter. She had to play this game in a way that gave her some kind of advantage, but she didn't know how. Her phone buzzed again, and this time it was a message from her uncle. "Zara, I don't trust the Kangs. Be careful. This is more dangerous than you realize." The message hit her like a punch to the stomach. Pastor Isaac had already warned her. He had known the danger, seen the darkness of the Kangs long before Zara had even realized it. She couldn't ignore this anymore. She had to figure out a way to protect him, to protect herself, and to survive in this world. Zara sat down on a bench in the park, her head spinning. She had no answers, no clear way forward. But she couldn't give up. Not now. Not when everything was on the line. Her uncle had trusted her to take care of him, to protect him. And now it was her turn to protect him from Jihyun and the Kangs. She couldn't keep letting them control her life. She pulled out her phone, ready to reach out to Lily. But before she could press the button, her phone buzzed again. This time it was from an unknown number. Zara frowned, her thumb hovering over the screen before she pressed it. "Zara," the voice on the other end said. It was a man's voice, low and deliberate. "You don't know me, but I have information that could help you. If you want to survive in this world, you need to listen to me. Meet me at the old warehouse on 5th and Wood by midnight. Come alone." The line went dead before Zara could respond. She stared at the screen, her mind racing. Who was this? Was this a trap, or was it someone who could actually help her? She didn't know who to trust anymore, but she couldn't ignore the possibility that this person had answers. What do you think Zara should do now? Is this a trap, or is it a chance for her to escape Ji-Hun's world? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to stay updated on Zara's journey. The twists are just beginning. Stay tuned for what happens next.